Hello everyone. Welcome to this Getting Started with TradeStation series. My name is Jesus Nava. I'm the Director of Client Training and Education here at TradeStation, and I'll be the host and presenter for today's training material. Welcome everyone. I know that we have attendees from all over the world, and I just want to take this opportunity to thank you for taking some time out of your busy schedules to join this class and learn about our TradeStation platform. Getting Started with TradeStation is an educational program that is designed to help you better utilize the power of TradeStation. We have 12 individual and unique lessons, and the purpose is to demonstrate the many features of TradeStation as best as possible so that you can take full advantage of its functionality. Take a look at the schedule, and I'll show it here on the PowerPoint slide, and make sure you register for any or all the classes that are listed here. As you can see, we start today, which is September 3rd, Lesson 1, Essentials of the TradeStation Desktop. The Document button at the bottom right corner of the screen will give you access to all the PDFs. Right now, I'm going to push the PDF for today's lesson, which is lesson number 1. The PDF contains all the topics that we're going to discuss today, so feel free to click on that link and save it to your computer for later reference. In the Documents section of this player, I've included a copy of all the PDFs that we're going to do in the series, so you have 12 different PDFs in the Documents section. There's no moderator today, so I'll do my best to look at the chat and take the questions during the live presentation. So try to keep your questions topical. And if there's any question that is not related to the content that I'm presenting, feel free to email me or contact technical support. They're very good at responding and showing you how to do different things in TradeStation. Use the chat window at the bottom also as a way of sending questions to me. As I said earlier, I'm going to look at the chat once in a while to see if I can answer some questions live. So feel free to do so. Just keep in mind that the chat window at the bottom is open to everyone, so everyone is able to see your questions, and everyone will be able to see everyone's comments. For your convenience, the presentation is going to be archived or recorded, and is going to be uploaded to the on-demand webcasts section of our website. Let me send a link to the chat window. That link will give you access to the archives of this presentation. If you go there right now, you'll see the archives of the last time we did the Getting Started. It'll take us a few days, maybe a week or two, to upload all the new videos to the link, but make sure you save it for later reference if you want to review the class content one more time. Before we get started, here's some important information. The following presentation is for educational purposes only. Keep in mind that active trading is not suitable for everyone. And the PDF that I referenced earlier, titled Important Disclosures, I'll push it again in the chat, contains additional information about the risks associated with trading. So when possible, take time to read some of the information there. Okay, let's get started. Let me switch over my screen to TradeStation, and everybody should be able to see my platform. Before we get started, I wanted to ask some questions to the audience that we have here on the screen. First of all, let me ask you about what instruments do you trade primarily? I'm going to share the results with everyone. We have about 60 people in this class, 64 to be exact. So if I start this poll, let's see, just click on the options of the items that you trade currently so that we can have an idea of the demographics here of the class. So as I expected, yeah, the majority of you trade stocks, followed by stock options, then futures, and then Forex. So thank you very much for responding. This helps me a little bit when talking about order entry because I'll focus on or concentrate on some of the functionality available for stock traders and options traders. And I'll deal a lot with futures as well and not leaving out all the Forex traders. So thank you very much for responding to this poll. Also, I wanted to ask the audience if this is the first time that you attend this class. I'm sharing the results with everyone. Okay, because I know that there's many people that that attend multiple times, because I know that these classes contain a lot of information, and sometimes it's a little hard to grasp all the concepts that are available in TradeStation. So thank you. All right, so we have about 2/3 of you have not attended this class before, so that's a good thing. So thank you everyone for responding. Okay. Stanley, if you're looking for the PDFs, they are right here. Let me highlight for all, right there in the documents section at the bottom right. I did see a couple of questions while I was doing the introduction, and I'm going to see if I can take those live. Kathleen, I see that you're having issues with your macros. When you click on macros, you get a blank window. It doesn't show what it should show, which is the 2 categories and the list of macros. So you're asking if you should reload TradeStation. Well, it's a good idea. Yeah, I would say that the items in TradeStation were not installed properly, and that's why you have some blank dialogues. If you still continue to have the problem after reloading TradeStation, I would contact tech support and have them troubleshoot the issue with you. Maybe there's a fix without having you to uninstall and reinstall TradeStation, so they will be the ones that have information on that. Okay. Keith, you ask a good question. Can I have simulated and live trading both open at the same time? If not, can I do so using 2 separate computers? It's a great question, Keith, and for somebody that's trading, they would actually love to have 2 setups, one simulated and one live, but both running at the same time, so that you can test ideas in the simulated and not have to risk your capital when placing a trade. Now, in TradeStation, we give you access to both environments, the simulated and the live, but you cannot be connected to both environments at the same time. Even if you have multiple computers, you can only be connected to one environment at one time. So the only solution here, if you want to have a connection to the simulated environment and a connection to your live environment simultaneously, you'll have to get an additional TradeStation login. And when I say login, I mean a username and password different than the one you're using right now. And you can get that from client services. Now, of course, this means that we'd have to set up new data for you, and it entails having to pay an additional fee for that additional TradeStation. So, but contact customer service, because if you're trading actively and if you are meeting the trading thresholds to get TradeStation free, you're probably eligible to get a second login of TradeStation at no extra charge. I guess you would only have to pay any real-time data exchanges that you have added to your account. But all that information can be cleared up by client services, so don't be afraid to give them a call and find out if you are able to get an additional login at no charge. Okay. Perfect. Okay, Cesar, I see that you don't have a TradeStation account yet. If you want to get a TradeStation account, you would have to contact the sales department. An account representative will be able to tell you what is necessary for you to fund an account with TradeStation. So it's good that you're here, because you'll get a little bit of information of what TradeStation is all about, and you'll get an opportunity to ask questions if you have any. So let's get started. The first few pages of the PDF for lesson number 1 talks about installation and system requirements, which I think it was important to include in the PDF just to make sure that we set the expectations right. Sometimes we do have a computer and we are expecting to use that computer for TradeStation, but after we install TradeStation, we realize that the computer is not powerful enough to run everything we need to run. So here is not an opportunity for me to tell you what you should get, because every TradeStation user is different. There's a standard user, there is a power user that needs more system resources, and there's that type of user that just has a couple charts up, that only trades a couple of instruments at a time, so it would not be considered a power user. So depending on how you're using TradeStation is what's going to determine what type of computer you need. However, when you go to the TradeStation website, let me go here and show you the TradeStation website. Here it is. And if you haven't been here, I do suggest that you come here, TradeStation.com, and you're going to see towards the top where my cursor is. Actually, you don't see my cursor yet, but it'll refresh in a moment. But on the very top, there it goes. On the very top, you see a place where it says Client Center. The Client Center, so you'll find a lot of goodies that you can take advantage of. So I've logged into my Client Center, which is this tab right here. This is what it looks like. And the information that I have on the PDF, the one that talks about installation and everything that's needed on your computer, is right here on the left navigation bar, where it says System Requirements. When you click on System Requirements, before you download the platform, it'll take you to that page, letting you know how much memory you need to run TradeStation the way you want. I did skip one step, which is clicking on this green tab that says Download Software. It takes you to a lot of technical specifications that are needed for you to run TradeStation. If you're not sure what type of user you are, we have a link here that says What type of user am I? And it'll take you to this section right here that describes the TradeStation user profiles. And then you will know, okay, how much computing power do I need? Now, if you're the type of trader that is expecting to have hundreds of charts on your screen and have multiple windows running simultaneously and having real-time updates on hundreds of symbols at a time, then you know you meet the qualifications for a power user, and you're going to need as much memory and as much speed as possible in order to run TradeStation. Okay. Let's talk a little bit about simulated trading versus live trading. We said earlier that those are two separate environments. Okay. And we clarified that you cannot be connected to both at the same time. When you get the TradeStation login window, and this is what you get when you first launch TradeStation, you have to enter your username and password. Let me just type in my information there. When you do, the login window has the two buttons here on the right. You have to choose whether you want to go to the live trading environment or the simulated trading environment. Be careful with this window because we get into the habit of pressing the enter key on the keyboard as soon as we type in the password. Well, if you hit the enter key on this actual login window, TradeStation will take you to your live account. So if your intention is to log into a simulated environment, make sure you take your mouse pointer and you click on the blue button that says simulated trading. Because if you hit the enter key, you'll be connected to the wrong environment. And what happens when you lose money in your live environment? By mistake? Unfortunately, we cannot give you that money back just because you made a mistake as to the environment you wanted to log on to. So be cautious as to where you click and be aware of where you're going. Let me show you what happens when I click on simulated trading and all the different things that you can watch out for just to confirm that you are in the right environment. First of all, I'm not sure if you saw it, but when I logged in, I got that little floating window that pretty much told you that you are connected to a simulated environment. Also, if you look at the auto bar here on top, the account number is going to start with the letters SIM, giving you an indication that you are connected to a simulated environment. Also, if you look at the bottom, here at the bottom, it's called the status bar. You also see how the account number has the letters SIM. And to make it more clear, if you notice here at the bottom right, this is Trading SIM, and it's in blue. So it does have the SIM qualifier letting you know that you're connected to a simulated environment. Now, I'm not sure if you noticed, but when I just logged in, notice my data. Data is red, and you may see this problem, once in a while, where you are connected to the simulated environment, but at the same time, you're not connected to data. This means that I'm offline with data. Data connection offline. So let me go ahead and refresh my connection to see if I'm able to get that to turn green. A quick way for you to refresh your TradeStation connection would be to double-click these indicators at the bottom. I find that the quickest way for you to disconnect and reconnect. Because sometimes you have so many workspaces open. You have, let's say, a dozen workspaces open, and each one of the workspaces has 10 windows each. So that's, 120 windows that have to open every time you shut down TradeStation and reopen. So if at any time you want to just refresh the connection without having to shut everything down, double-click on these indicators at the bottom. I'm getting this warning that I'm going to go offline. That's fine. Work offline. Notice how the two indicators turn red again. So I'm going to double-click on them again. Doesn't matter which one you click on. I believe the logon window will pop up regardless of the one that's clicked on. So I have my login window again. I type in my information, and I go to simulated trading. I get my confirmation that I'm in the simulator, and my data is still red. It's interesting that this is happening to me, because if it happens to you, you're going to have multiple ways of dealing with that problem. In fact, if I try to bring up a chart, let me try to bring up a chart to see if it comes up. It does come up. That's interesting. All right, what I'm going to do is, so that it doesn't create any problems for me, what I'm going to do is I'm going to shut down my TradeStation and reopen it. So let me try that one time and see what happens on my screen. All right. There we go. I just shut down TradeStation. I reopened it. It's trying to connect. I should have a response in no time. There we go. So this is the way that they should look. You have Trading SIM in blue and the data indicator in green, letting you know that you've reached a connection to the data server. All right. I got some utilities here. You probably haven't seen this before. This is from the Trading App Store. We haven't talked about the Trading App Store, but there are some products that you can install in TradeStation that are not default to TradeStation. And I believe in lesson number 12, when we talk about online presence, I show you some of the products that you can install on your TradeStation for free. And the nice thing about downloading products from the Trading App Store is that it follows your login. So it doesn't matter where you log in, you'll have access to these products. You see, most of the time when we have a custom indicator or a custom strategy, that only works on the computer where you've imported it. But the Trading App Store is very nice, because when you install a custom strategy from the Trading App Store, it follows your login. So if you log in at home, you have access to those indicators and strategies. But if you log in at work, you also have access to those indicators and strategies, which makes it very convenient. I'm going to click OK to this and close this Trading App Store dialog. All right. Let's go to page 5. It talks about the TradeStation desktop components. So from the top down, I'm going to describe all the components of the desktop. Starting here with the menu bar. The menu bar is very similar to any other Windows application. You click on the menu name and it gives you a drop-down with different functions. As you use TradeStation, you're going to find out that these menus will be Windows sensitive. So what I mean by that is, depending on the window that is active on your desktop, the items here will change. So if you have a chart open, the menu will change to all the options and all the functionality available for charting. But if you have a radar screen open, you're going to see how the menu items will change and give you all the options that are available for radar screen. And the reason we did that is because there are so many functions and so many features that are Windows specific that we didn't want to clutter all the menu items for you. So all the menus are Windows specific. And that goes for the toolbar that you see right below the menu bar as well. Some of the tools here in the toolbar are always visible, but some others, like in this area where you don't see any buttons, will change. Let me demonstrate. If I go to my Trading Apps launcher and I click on Chart Analysis, once the chart opens, notice that TradeStation displays a new set of toolbar buttons that are related to charting. If I close the chart, the buttons go away. So we do have some toolbars that are Windows specific, and you will only be able to see them on top if the window is active. Below the toolbar, we have what's called the order bar. We call the order bar the manual order entry facility because that's the place where you place orders manually. And it's sometimes a labor-intensive process because you do have to go box by box, insert your order specifications, and then once you're finished setting up your order, then you can click on buy, sell short, or buy to cover. And that's why I mean labor-intensive, because you have to go through so many clicks before you're able to place the order. We are going to talk about the order bar, I think, tomorrow and all the functionality, but there are other tools in TradeStation that I do feel are a little bit more efficient when it comes to placing orders, like the matrix. And we'll talk about the matrix, I think, on lesson number 3. We'll talk about chart trading. We'll talk about the quick trade bar. So TradeStation has different tools that make it possible for you to trade. Now, it's your decision to choose the one that is most comfortable to you. All right? There's no one better than the other. The one that you feel more comfortable with, that's the one you're going to choose to trade on your TradeStation platform. If you're using 9.1, you're probably used to the shortcut bar here on the left-hand side. For an update of 9.1 and 9.5, we've added this little tab on the left. It's called the Trading Apps Launcher. So the Trading Apps tab can be moved anywhere you want. So if you don't like it here on the left-hand side, you can drag it and maybe move it here to the left. Or the way that I prefer it to be, I like to take the Trading Apps tab and put it right here on the very top. So anytime that I need a trading app, I just go up here, click, and I have all the buttons available for me to click on and open up any trading app. So put the Trading Apps tab in a place where it's convenient and a place where you know where it is and you won't forget where you put it, okay? I can disable the Trading Apps altogether by going to the View menu, and notice that there's an option here that says Trading App Launcher. If you uncheck that, it'll go completely away. So if you don't like that new tab, you can just remove it by going to the View menu. Let me enable it again. The Trading Apps Launcher, it's interesting. By default, there are not that many buttons in here. But as you install Trading Apps, and as I said earlier, you can go to the Trading App Store to install Trading Apps in TradeStation. But here you have a search capability that allows you to filter the trading apps by just typing a few characters in. So notice here that I typed in CHAR, And the only icon or the only app that matches those characters is chart analysis, and that's the one that is displayed. So if you're looking for market depth, just type in the word that you're interested in, and the trading apps window will filter it and just show you those items. All right. Enough about the trading apps. Every time you click on a button there, it'll open up a window in TradeStation. So let's go ahead and explain what are the differences between workspaces, windows, and desktops, because it'll make your life easier when it comes to organizing your work in TradeStation. Every time you open up a window or you create a window in TradeStation, it's going to be contained in this untitled workspace. And the workspace says untitled because I have not saved it. So let me go here to my trading apps, and I'm going to click on chart analysis. Every time you need a chart, just click on trading apps again and click on chart analysis one more time. That'll open up another chart. So now I have a workspace that has two windows. There are some things you can do to windows, and windows can be dragged by clicking on the title bar and moved over to any location. You can click on the corner of these windows and resize them so that they can fit in your workspace better. You see? And you can see windows side by side. There is some arranging functionality in the window menu that allows you to arrange windows horizontally, vertically, or cascade. If I do vertically, notice how TradeStation automatically organizes my windows and fills the whole desktop area to maximize the space. Once I have my workspaces or my windows in place, I can save the workspace. To save this workspace that says untitled, I'll go to File menu, click on Save Workspace, and I can give this workspace a name, and I'll call this 2 charts. A descriptive name that I know what that workspace contains. If you need another workspace, the first button here on my toolbar, it's New Workspace. If you hover over it, that's what it'll say. When I click on it, notice how we have an untitled workspace too. My charts are not visible on the screen. Now you can be assured that those charts are still streaming real-time data. So if you've set up alerts, if you've set up a strategy on those charts, they'll continue to update even though I don't see them on my screen. They are in this other workspace that is hidden in the background. One thing is true though, any workspace that you want to stream real-time data and that you want to have alerts monitored needs to be open. It needs to be open, like my 2 charts workspace over here. It's open, it's not visible, but I know that it's open. I can add other windows here. Let's say that I want to add a matrix window, so I click on matrix from the Trading Apps Launcher, and then I go to Trading Apps Launcher again, and I go to Time and Sales. Where's my Time and Sales? Here it is. By the way, throughout the class, we're going to explain all these windows so that you can get a full understanding on how to use them. All right. I go to File again, and I click on Save Workspace. And this will be Matrix and MD, actually MTS, Time and Sales. I'll save it, and notice how the tab here, it's already saved. The nice thing about saving workspaces is that next time that you log on to TradeStation, they'll automatically open up for you. Now, some people like that, some people don't. Since I'm always working on different workspaces, I usually have my TradeStation open with no workspaces. That way it opens up faster, and then I can choose which workspaces to open. But if you're the type of user that always uses a certain number of workspaces, you can have TradeStation open them automatically. For you to control what workspaces are open and which ones are not, there are some preferences that you need to look at. So let's go to File and go to Preferences. Those preferences are in the TradeStation Desktop Preferences. There's the first option here. And we would have to go to the Workspaces tab. Here it is, Workspaces tab. And we have a section here on Startup The default option is to open all workspaces from previous session. But if you want a clean slate, select this one that says do not open any workspaces. Okay. Interesting. Michael, to answer your question, do workspaces created in 9.1 work in 9.5 and vice versa? Part of your question is true. Any workspace you create in 9.1 can be used in 9.5. The workspace file is going to be upgraded to 9.5. However, you cannot go backwards, so it's not backward compatible. Anything that is created in 9.5 cannot be opened up in 9.1. So keep that in mind. It's always forward compatible, but not backward compatible. All right. So this is what the difference between Windows and Windows is, just a data display, and you can have multiple windows saved inside a workspace. Now, desktops in TradeStation is a concept that we introduced in order for you to take advantage of multiple monitor setups. On the computer that I'm using, there are two monitors connected. On one, I'm using TradeStation, and on the other, I'm using the webcast technology that allows me to project my TradeStation to you guys. So it's very nice that I can have two monitors connected. Well, TradeStation can be opened up on multiple monitors so that you can organize your work better. For whatever reason it is, you can have a desktop for equities, and then you have another desktop for options, or maybe futures. In order to create a new desktop, go to the File menu, click on New, and notice that I have the option to create a desktop. A desktop is like running a separate TradeStation application running on the same computer. Let me show you. When I clicked on desktop, my other TradeStation desktop opened on my other monitors. Let me just bring it over so you can take a look at it. There it is. Notice that this is like a second TradeStation. It's a separate desktop. It's very similar to the one that I'm working on, but now I can modify it so that I can have different charts, different windows on this other desktop. And notice that I can move this desktop to another monitor or another location just to organize my work that way. Desktops can be saved as well. Notice that this one says Untitled Desktop 2. The one that I opened up first, it says Untitled Desktop 1. So desktops can also be saved, and the desktops will remember what workspaces were opened inside of them. So when you open up a desktop, it automatically opens all the workspaces that were arranged at the bottom as tabs. Let me go ahead and close this desktop for now. When I close it, I get this dialog asking me, what do you want to do? You want to close this desktop, or you want to close all desktops? Because whenever we click on the X on the top right, TradeStation is going to assume that you either want to exit out of TradeStation or just close a single desktop. I'm just going to choose close this desktop and continue using the one that I've been working on. Okay. We have talked about resizing windows and arranging windows and making your work more organized. So let me show you a functionality which is copying windows. Copying windows is explained on page 7, and it's really nice, especially when you've spent a lot of time creating a workspace and a specific chart. You've made all the settings right, you've added all the technical analysis, and now it's time to create another chart. And then to avoid having to go through all the trouble of making all those changes again, you can just copy the window and paste it over. Let me demonstrate. Let's say that on this particular chart, I have multiple analysis techniques. Now, we're not talking about charting now, so I'm going to go quickly here and insert some analysis techniques so that you can see. I'll add the moving average 3 lines, the MACD, the momentum. Okay, that's fine. So I have a chart here with multiple analysis techniques. I also format the window, and let's say that I change the background to something really dark. Let's change the color here, but not black. And then I change the grid, and I make it white. Whatever you do to the chart, you're making the chart customized, And let's suppose that this is, that came out really ugly, but suppose that this is a chart that I like. Now, when I click on Trading Apps, again, and I click on Chart Analysis to create another chart, TradeStation is always going to use the default colors. So without changing the defaults, if you want to create a duplicate of the chart, just right-click on the window. Well, you're not going to see the option here, but let me see if I can move some things around. The order bar, which we're not talking about today, can be removed by clicking on the X here. They can always be brought back. Same for the position graph bar. We are not talking about that today, so I'm going to remove it just to maximize the area here in my desktop. By going to the View menu, you can see those two items listed at the top, order bar and position graph bar. If I right-click on my chart, now you see the option here in the menu. It says Copy Window. So I've just copied the window. I can go to a new workspace by clicking on the little button here on the toolbar, and now right-click on the open space and then select the option that says Paste Window. Notice how it creates a duplicate of that window with all the analysis techniques, all the colors, all the style, so you don't have to go through that work again. Okay. I'm going to click on Close Workspace. I know that I haven't saved it. I don't want to save it, so I'll click on this little button. It says Close Workspace. It's going to ask me if I want to save the changes, and I say no. All right. There's no undo in TradeStation. I wish there were, or there was. This particular chart, I changed everything. I cannot undo the changes that I did. So if I want to go back to the dark background, I have to go back to the same dialog and change the settings if I need to do so. I don't want to. So let me go ahead and remove the chart and open up a new one. Okay, and then go to my window menu and arrange vertically. There we go. On page 8, we talked about multiple desktops and how you can arrange your desktops in your computer. So now let's talk about backup and restore. As you begin using TradeStation, you're going to have a lot of custom work, workspaces, desktops. You're going to set up your analysis techniques. If you're into importing custom analysis techniques and strategies, you may have a library of third-party products that you brought from the Trading App Store, or maybe somebody provided to you, or the Easy Language Library. So it's very important that after all that work and all that effort that you put into TradeStation, that you create a backup of it. Why? Because things happen. You could lose your hard drive. You may have a computer crash that messes up TradeStation and corrupts it, and then you lose all the work that you created. So let me show you the backup restore utility in TradeStation because it'll make your life easier. Peter, I wish the undo feature would come, but no, I don't think it's in the plans. I think all the changes that you make, TradeStation assumes is because you want to change them. So I haven't heard of anything or any feature that will allow you to undo. Especially when you make a bad trade, right? Undo. All right. Backup and restore. Let's go to the File menu. That's where the Backup Restore utility is. So Backup Restore TradeStation. And I'll click on Backup TradeStation for now. The Backup utility, right here inside this box, will give you every single item that can be customized. You can create custom symbol lists. You can create new desktops. You can create macros, settings for OptionStation Pro, scans. Everything that you can customize can be selected here for backup. Now maybe you are unaware of the things that you've customized. It doesn't hurt to have everything checked. The backup will take a little bit longer, but at least it's better to be safe than sorry. So many times you just select everything and then create a backup. If TradeStation goes through the different items and it doesn't find any custom work, it'll just skip it. One of the things that you probably will not want to have checked is this item right here. This is data cache. Data cache, and you probably haven't heard this before, but every time you load up a chart in TradeStation, TradeStation will save a lot of that data in your computer's hard drive. Now don't be alarmed because the data files are really small. It doesn't take up much space on your computer. Why does TradeStation do that? Because it's so much faster once you load it once to have and load that data from the hard drive. It doesn't have to go to the TradeStation server online and download the data every single time. It'll grab the historical data from your hard drive and then give you real-time updates from the web. Okay, and that's the reason why TradeStation saves data in your hard drive. Now, if you create a backup and you select data cache, it's not necessary because when you install TradeStation again and you load up your workspaces, all that data is going to be given to you again. It's not necessary to back it up unless, and this is a big unless, unless you are keeping track or accumulating tick data. You know how much data there is for tick data in TradeStation? There's only 6 months of tick data, which is a lot of data, you know? Data, however you say it, it's a lot of data. I mean, when you go to tick level, we're talking about tons and tons of different ticks, and it creates large files. And that's why we only keep 6 months of historical data when it comes to tick interval. If you're the type of trader that uses tick charts, and you want your tick charts to go beyond 6 months, which is what we provide, because as you start using TradeStation, this data will start accumulating, and you probably get 7 months, 8 months, up to a year, maybe 2 years of accumulated tick data every time you log on to TradeStation. Only those times is when you should check data cache. Okay? Cesar, we don't have a cloud, although if you are using any cloud service, and there's a lot of companies out there that do provide the service, you can upload all your backup files and workspaces to a cloud. That way they're safe and backed up in that sense. And Larry, I see your question about TradeStation offering hosting services so that you can upload things to TradeStation's servers. At the moment, yes, it's not available, but I've heard of plans. Everything right now is done in the cloud, and any company that is not offering any type or cloud type service is really lagging behind, and of course TradeStation wants to offer those services to its clients. So I've heard of conversations, but don't quote me about the availability of this functionality because I don't have a lot of information on it, but I do know that it's being talked about, having the ability to run a strategy on a server or have the workspaces on a server without having to keep them on your local computer. Okay, here on the top right, this is the destination. You can change the destination. It is not what you see here at the moment. I believe there's a specific folder that we save backup files to. The backup files are separate from the TradeStation folder or directory, so that when you uninstall TradeStation, it doesn't get rid of your archives, which is a nice thing. However, if you want to be completely safe, we always suggest that you take that backup file and you put it elsewhere. Put it on a USB flash memory stick or email it to yourself. Put it somewhere that is not dependent on the hard drive so that you can always have a backup copy, especially if you have a lot of work. You want to make sure that you take that backup file and save it elsewhere other than your hard drive. But the destination will tell you where the folder or where the file is going to be saved, and it's going to be one single file containing all the items that are checked here on the left-hand side. You can schedule an automatic backup. Sometimes it's nice to have the backup utility, but if we don't remember to backup, it defeats the purpose of having a backup utility. But if you schedule an automatic backup to run on whatever schedule you wish, then it's a big convenience. The nice thing is that TradeStation does not have to be open or running in order for the backup utility to run. The only thing that needs to be turned on is your computer. If your computer is off, the computer won't remember to do the backup. Okay, so, but TradeStation doesn't have to be logged on in order to run the backup. If you set the schedule, I believe it uses some sort of the Microsoft scheduling utility to run the backup in the background. Okay, so make sure that you schedule backups. And the frequency depends on what you do to TradeStation. You know, if you're the type of trader that changes your workspaces every single day, you probably want to get a backup every single day. But if you don't make that many changes, then you probably just need a weekly backup or a monthly backup. But just be sure to turn this on so that you have a backup somewhere in case you need to reinstall TradeStation and not have to recreate everything. Herda, I see your question. You're asking about more tick data from us. The answer to that is no. Unfortunately, no. You cannot get more tick data from us. There are other vendors of tick data. You can probably look into that if you want to load historical tick data. The only problem with getting tick data from another vendor, let's say that you get 3 years of tick data from a vendor, and you can bring that data into TradeStation because we do have the capabilities of importing third-party data. But once you put that data on TradeStation, it's not going to update in real time because it's not going to be a symbol that the data server recognizes. So you're going to be limited to just doing historical analysis. So TradeStation only gives you 6 months, and your charts do update in real time when you use those 6 months. All right. You make a good question, Larry. Larry's question's about if you are on a simulated environment and you specify which workspaces and desktops to open, will the same workspaces and desktops open if you log into the live environment? And the answer is yes, Larry. Any settings that you do on TradeStation, and I'm talking about everything you do, everything you customize, colors, styles, analysis techniques, every workspace that you create is going to be for both environments. It doesn't matter which one you're logged on to. If you choose to create everything in the simulated environment, and then when you're finished, you log into the live environment, you're going to have exactly the same setup you created. All right. When you've created the backup, and one interesting thing about the backup is that when the backup runs, it'll disconnect your TradeStation. So do not run the backup in the middle of a trade, because TradeStation will automatically disconnect you, and that's something that is part of the backup process. So if you are looking at data, real-time data, or monitoring a trade, do not start a backup. Backups should be done outside of market hours because it disconnects TradeStation. When you're ready to restore a backup, let's say that you lose your hard drive. You have to install a brand new one, and then you have to install TradeStation again, but you kept a backup. In order to restore it to TradeStation, you go to the File menu, go to the Backup Restore TradeStation, and you click on the Restore TradeStation Archive. This will give you access to browse your computer. I'm going to browse, and when you browse, then you go to the directory where the archives are. If you have them on a USB flash drive, put the archive in the computer and import it from the computer. And that will bring everything that was saved to that file into your new installation. Scott, I see your question about custom color templates, and thank you, Larry, for your suggestions about doing backups on Saturdays. Scott, we have some templates that you can apply on some of the windows in TradeStation, not all of them. So in charting, for example, we don't have any color templates. You'll have to choose the colors yourself. But at some other windows like radar screen, and we'll talk about radar screen in one of the lessons, we do give you the ability to apply templates that have colors and style already selected for you. But for charting, you do have to select everything manually. Let's talk about toolbars. I'm on page 10. page 10 of the PDF. Toolbars on the very top, and I already talked a little bit about toolbars, are Windows specific. And if I go here to my other workspace where the matrix and the time and sales are, notice that the matrix window is the one active. How do I know? Because it has a title bar that is darker. See, the title bar here in my time and sales is lighter. If I click on the time and sales, see how the color switches? And that's the way that you know which window is active, which one is the one that's clicked. Okay. When I click on the matrix, notice the buttons here on my toolbar. They're different than the ones in charting. And when I click on my time and sales, notice how the buttons change. And those are toolbars that are window specific. You can modify the toolbars. Let me go back here to my charting workspace. Some of the buttons here, some of the things that are on the toolbar, you probably don't need or you don't use at all. And I'll give you one example. If I'm on my chart, I sometimes use the up arrow and the down arrow to move around my chart. You see how it's increasing the bar spacing, decreasing the bar spacing. I use up arrow, down arrow key on my keyboard, which is the same thing as these tools right here. Decrease and increase bar spacing. It has the same effect. Now you can keep them there, but I hardly ever go up here and click on those buttons. I always use my up arrow and my down arrow. So how do you get them off the toolbar? Well, it's very easy. Go to the View menu, go to Toolbars, and you don't see it here on my projected screen because my menu is too long, but the last option is Customize. When you go to Customize, you can bring up the Commands tab, and these are all the tools that you can add up to the toolbar. We are not displaying all the toolbar icons that are in TradeStation. There's not enough space to display all the toolbars. So come here, go to all the different categories, and take a look at all the different functionality that is already built into TradeStation as a toolbar button. You may find something that will make your life so much easier because you'll have a shortcut for it. But over here, if I want to remove these two buttons, I just click on the buttons, and it's very important that these Customize window is open. I click on the buttons and I drag them over here inside the window. Notice how one of them went away? I click on the other one, drag, and then drop it inside here, and those buttons are gone. If you want to add a new one, let's say, for example, new chart analysis window. If you get tired of going to trading apps and then doing another click on chart analysis, I can add this new chart analysis window to my main toolbar. The main toolbar is the one that doesn't change, that is always visible. So I have the first button that's new workspace, but I want to add this new chart analysis window over here to my toolbar. Just click and drag. Just try to put it in between the two buttons where you want it to be dropped, and then release. Notice how the toolbar button is added to my toolbar. When I close and I use that toolbar button, it does exactly what it was intended to do, creating a new chart. All right. You can even create a toolbar from scratch. If you go to the View menu, Toolbars, and you go to Customize, in the Toolbars tab, notice how you have the option to create a new toolbar. So if you want to not use the ones that TradeStation provides, which I think are useful, but if you want to create one from scratch, you can click on New, give your toolbar a name, make it shared, and this is important because if you want your toolbar to always be visible, then you want to make sure that it's shared. Otherwise, it's going to be window specific, like the other toolbars that appear and disappear. So if you want a toolbar that is always on top, make sure that that toolbar is shared. Jeffrey, I see your question about the C on the top left corner of my chart analysis. If I hover over the C, it says data corrections pending. And this is what happens. The exchange is always streaming real-time data to TradeStation. Once in a while, there's a bad tick, but it's been reported by the exchange. So you do have the option to apply that correction to your chart analysis. Why do we give you the option and not do it automatically? Because you may have some analysis or some strategies that are on your chart, and if you apply the correction, it's going to recalculate, and it may, put your strategy out of sync from your real trading. And that's why we always give you the option when the exchange submits a correction of data for you to apply it. So how do you apply it? Right-click on the actual C, and you get the options to apply it to this window, to all windows, and just ignore it. If I do apply the corrections, notice how the charts reload, the C goes away, and it actually corrected the data. It doesn't tell you what data point was wrong, it just fixes the data for you automatically. Okay, I'm going to go to page 11, which is the command line. A little bit about the command line and how it works. We have about 30 minutes left of the class, so I do ask that you hang on here with me. Okay, so let's go ahead and show you the command line. The command line is this box right here on the top of TradeStation. And the command line is great because it recognizes keyboard commands. And you can type in something in TradeStation and have TradeStation respond to it. Like changing the symbol of a chart. Like changing the interval of a chart. And we'll do that when we get to chart analysis and all the things you can do in the command line. But let me show you some commands that you can use in the command line that you probably are not aware of. For example, creating a chart. There is a command you can put in your keyboard that creates a new chart, and that command is .n as in Nancy, C. Notice here the command line, .nc. I didn't have to click in the command line for the command line to recognize my input. I just started typing, and the letters that I typed automatically showed up in the command line. .nc is a command to create a new chart. When I hit enter, notice how a chart comes up. If you are a trader or a computer user that likes keyboard commands, you're going to love the command line because there's commands that you can just type in, like a few letters like I just did, and do certain functions in TradeStation. Okay? The same for market depth. If I type in .md and hit enter, it says command not recognized. I guess that was not the command. When you type in something that it's not in the library, you'll get this error. So I try to work from memory, and I guess my memory just failed. All right, so the command is .nmd because I forgot the new. N for new, MD for market depth. I hit enter, and you get a market depth window on your screen. Now, you don't have to memorize all the commands because there is a table that tells you all the commands that are available. Where is it? Well, right next to the command line, there's a little blue little triangle. No, not this one, not the drop down, but to the right of it, there's one that says History and Commands List. When I click on it, it gives you the last 10 symbols that you used in TradeStation, plus the last 10 data intervals that you used. But here at the bottom is where I want you to take your attention. Other commands. When I click here, it'll open up the help files. And let me just bring them over here to my screen so that you can see them. This is the help files, and it takes you to a page that is called the command line reference, sorted by application, or you can do the command line reference all commands, and it'll sort them by command. But let me show you some of the things that you can find here. Like this is done by application. And you can see that there's a long name and there's a short name. These are all the ones for charting. These are ones for desktop. Notice how new chart .nc, new hotlists .nhl, new time and sales .nts. These are all commands that you can type in, and TradeStation will generate that command for you. So use the command reference guide to give you all the commands that you can type in, and if you're a keyboard person, you'll appreciate the fact that we've programmed commands for you. All right. When you create commands or macros, let's talk about macros a little bit. Let me just take some of the questions here that are in the chat. Stanley, I see you're having problems printing the document. I'm not sure if anybody is having the same issues, but it's just a PDF. You should be able to print it without any difficulties. If you continue to have problems, I can probably email you the PDF directly. Let me share my email address with the class here. If you have any questions or any follow-up questions about the class, feel free to email me. If you'd like, I'll try to provide you an answer. If not, I'll refer you to somebody that can. Michael, I see your question about deleting the history. If you're referring to the history right here in my command line, I believe you cannot. Although, if you continue using different symbols, they'll just be pushed over. Let me just see here in the preferences. If you go to File, Preferences, TradeStation Desktop, this remembers the workspaces that you're using. Let me just see here if there's something. Command line. Here it is. Command line. Command line entry list, history, and command list. You can reduce the number of items that are displayed. I did show you that it's showing 10 symbols and 10 intervals. But if you limit that to a lower number, then you can probably push those out easier. Okay. Prasad, I see your question about symbology and the .d and what does the @ mean on the symbol. I do want to leave that for the chart analysis class, which is lesson number 4, I think. I think it's number 4, the one that talks about charting. We'll leave that for charting, and we'll explain all the symbology once we get to charting. For now, let's stick to the desktop preferences. Let me show you a quick macro. And I'm going to click on the macro little button here. This is the macro right next to the command line. There's a macro. There's two types of macros. There's a command line macro and an order entry macro. Of course, the order entry macros we'll leave for later. So notice how we have some command line macros already created for you. These are created for you. If you want to know how these are created, highlight any of them, like desktop bars, and then click on Edit. You can see how the commands are listed. You can see how the commands are separated by double semicolons. So if you want to create your own macro, you can do that by looking at the ones that are already supplied to you and then try to mimic them in the way that they're formatted. Okay? Desktop bars is one that allows you to remove the desktop bars with one command. If I run this, desktop bars, it says command not recognized. That's interesting. Let's do desktop toolbars. You can notice how it removes the toolbars. Now I don't have a way to bring it back. Okay. Let me go one more time. All right. Yeah, David, what do you have? I see your problem. You don't have macros loaded. If you don't see information in the macros dialog, it's probably because you had a failed installation. You probably need to talk to tech support for that. Okay? But rest assured that the macro functionality is really cool because you can have a series of things happen automatically for you with one command, like opening up a new workspace, like opening up a new chart with certain indicators. Once you start creating these macros, it's going to be very simple to do on your TradeStation. Burton, I see your question about downloading 9.5. You should be able to upgrade from 9.1 without having to uninstall. So from your TradeStation, if you go to Help and you click on TradeStation Update Manager, it should give you an idea of what version is available and how you can upgrade. Okay, so Help and TradeStation Update Manager will check the versions that are available to you. Jeff, I see your question about how to use the command line to change the chart interval, and we'll talk about that also in lesson number 4, but it's just a matter of typing it in. If you want a 5-minute chart, just type in 5 space MIN, and it should work for you. Rodney, I see your question about saving data to another drive. If you refer to the data that TradeStation saves, yes, you can. It's just a matter of selecting where TradeStation is going to save those files. If I go to File, Preferences, TradeStation Network, here it is, Cache. Go to File, Preferences, and TradeStation Network. When you go to the cache, you can choose the cache directory and browse for the location of that drive, and it'll put that data there. Michael, I don't believe you can go back to a previous build unless it's available. You know, if you go to Help and you click on TradeStation Update Manager, from here, if you go to Show All, it'll give you a list of everything that you've done on this TradeStation, and sometimes if there's an older build, it'll give you the option here to roll back. Okay, so always check here, and it'll give you some information about all the builds that you can roll back to. Malcolm, if you don't have the command line, check to see if you have the toolbar checked. Go to View Toolbar. Make sure that the main toolbar is checked. That's the one that has the command line. And if you still cannot see it, I would suggest you contact tech support, and they'll be able to get it back for you. You can create your custom toolbars as well. For example, you may have multiple positions open. Let me go here to my order bar, and let me just establish some positions here very quickly so you can see how this works. My position graph here, I have a position on Microsoft. Let me open up a position on Apple, Cisco. So I have multiple positions open here. I just want to demonstrate something. Let me go to the macro dialog for a moment. There is a macro here called Close All Positions. If I edit it, the command is Close All Positions. So there's a command line that is related to my positions that are open. Let's see how that works. But instead of running it from here, which I can, let me go ahead and show you something very cool. I can go to the toolbar button, and notice how there's a toolbar already assigned to Close All Positions. I can modify that button. Let me go here to Modify Button, and I'm going to add this stop sign. So if you want to stop trading, you want to close all your positions. I'm going to put it as a stop sign. I'm going to click OK. Notice how now the macro is associated with that toolbar button. So I'm going to bring that toolbar button up to my toolbar and put it right next to my symbol lookup right there, part of my main toolbar, and close. So technically, if I click on that stop sign, it should send a command to close all my macros or all my positions. Now, if I try to do it now, it'll tell me, would you like to run the Close All Positions macro? If I say yes, it'll say order entry macros are locked. because for security measure, the macros are locked for you. So in order for you to unlock them, you have to come down at the bottom on the status bar. You see where OE macros is red? If I double click on OE macro, it turns green. If I double click it again, it turns red. So that's a way to unlock the macro. So I'm going to try it one more time. Stop. It's going to ask me, would you like to run the close all positions macro? I say yes. Notice how it blanks out my position graph bar. It sends market orders to close all my positions. So that's one of the things that you can pretty much automate when it comes to using macros. And I just wanted to provide that as an example. And you can run it from a toolbar button, or you can run it using a keyboard combination. Okay. Running out of time here, so let me pick up the pace. I apologize for that, but we are on page 14 and 15 talking about window linking. Great functionality. Let me show you how it works. Every window in TradeStation on the title bar has a button for S, symbol, and a button for I, interval. And you'll see that in every window in TradeStation. There's two parts to that button. There's the S, and there's a little drop-down. If I click the drop-down, I get multiple options. If I don't click the drop-down, if I click on the S, it's turning on linking. Notice how it turns the button green. So if I come over here to the right and I click on the S of this other window, it'll also turn it green. I have created a link between these two windows inside a green group so that any changes in the symbol of one chart will affect the other. Let me click on this chart and change it to Apple. AAPL, hit enter. Notice how both windows, notice how both windows now are switched to Apple because they're linked. If I change it to Microsoft, any symbol change, apologize for this window. I'll explain that when we get to charting that download scheduler window. But notice that window linking allows you to, any change that you make in one, transfer that change to the other. Keith, I see your question about can you set the macro to work without the verification or the confirmation window? Yes, you can, and that's just one of the settings of the macro. If you click on Edit, you'll notice how one of those windows will tell you, would you like to get a confirmation? And you just have to check or uncheck that. If I have a new workspace, let me remove the order bar and remove the position graph bar. And let me just create 4 different charts. Go to Window, and I'm going to arrange all. So I'm going to link the top 2 by the green link. So the bottom 2, I'm going to choose a different color. So if you want to choose a different color, now you click on the drop-down, and I'm going to make these yellow. Once you select a new color, TradeStation will remember that color, so that when you turn on the next link, it'll use the last color used, yellow. So here at the bottom, if I change the symbol to Yahoo, now the bottom 2 windows will change to Yahoo. Now the interval works really nice because it'll link the data intervals. So I'm going to click on here, the top left, and the bottom one here. And I'm going to make these windows daily. Notice that if I change the data interval of one, the other one changes as well. I'll choose a different color on the 2 right windows, and I'll make them dark blue. I'll choose the color for that one and the color for the bottom one, and I'll say these are going to be 30-minute. So if I change one, the other changes automatically. So that's the nature of a local link. It works within the workspace. Let me show you something more advanced that's called a global link, which works across workspaces and across desktops. This may be the workspace that I look at for analysis. But now if I want to trade, I come back here to my matrix and I place my trades here. So I really don't want to have multiple matrix windows open. I just have to have one and have it linked so that it changes when I change the symbol. Let me show you. I'm going to come here to the drop down and I'm going to make this a green global symbol link. So this is a global link. I'm going to go back to my workspace and I'm going to change these from local to global. All right, to global. If I'm looking at some analysis and I'm changing the symbol, let me change the top two charts here to Facebook. Facebook here on the left-hand side. If I go to my matrix, Facebook's already populated in my matrix. It's a global link. And these are very useful if you're working across workspaces and across desktops, because anything you do in one window will affect the others. Okay? Let me show you something else, because this is only a green link. A green link. What happens if I want to use them for the yellow link too? Well, I'm going to turn these global, still yellow, but I'm going to come back here to my matrix, and I'm going to make the matrix what's called a global listener. A global listener is a type of link that listens to any change that happens on your TradeStation so that it gets applied regardless of the window that is generating it. Let me show you. I'll click on Global Listener. Notice how the matrix is still Facebook. I'm going to go over here to my workspace. On the top two windows, if I change the symbol here to something different, let's go to Disney. Notice that I did it on the green group. If I go back to my matrix, Disney is populated because it listened to the change. Now if I go back to this workspace, now I'm not going to use the green group, I'm going to use a yellow group. If I come down here and I change this to Microsoft under the yellow group, if I go back to my matrix is Microsoft because it's a global listener. It's listening to anything that happens in my TradeStation and it'll apply that change to its window. So it's an interesting concept to have these global windows that are ready to take the change from any window that generates it. Gregory, yes, this whole presentation is being recorded. If you want to watch the archives at a later time, it is in that link. Michael, you ask a good question. Is there a limit to the number of links globally or locally? Well, you are limited to the colors that are here. You have yellow, green, dark blue, and light and light or cyan, and then you have more local symbol links. So you're limited to the colors that are here. Now the listeners are just what they are. They're listeners, so they don't have a specific color. So you have one local listener and you have one global listener that can be applied to any window. So there's no limit to the number of windows that can be linked, but there is a limit to the colors. You can only use, I believe there's there's about 16 different colors that you can choose from this drop-down. Okay? Great. And in our presentation, when we get to radar screen, I'll show you some other, how to create some other links that are useful. It's very nice when you have a watch list, let's say 100 symbols in radar screen. Very nice to click on the symbols and have a chart update automatically. And we'll get to see that when we go to the radar screen class, which I believe is, I always forget what the lesson number is, but look at the schedule and you'll see when that class is. The preferences, which is the last page on your PDF, actually not the last page, but 2 pages before last. You'll find a lot of interesting items and preferences that will allow you to control TradeStation. The preferences are available when you go to File, Preferences, and there's 3 preferences that you can set up. Desktop preferences, order entry preferences, and network preferences. During this class, we talked about desktop. If you go to desktop, here you can control the workspaces, you can control the desktops, to know exactly what desktops to open when you log on to TradeStation. Sessions, most of the symbols that you use in TradeStation will use the regular session. That's a default. So if you bring up Microsoft, for example, TradeStation knows that it trades from 9:30 Eastern all the way to 4 p.m. Eastern. If you want to change the sessions that are being used by default, you can do that right here in the Sessions tab. We have an Updates Manager that controls the way that TradeStation is updated. By default, updates are downloaded automatically, but you can choose to do it manually. We have some other things like performance. I'm not sure if you're aware that TradeStation is gradually allowing you to use multi-threaded machines and multi-processor machine. The performance is set to auto-configured by TradeStation, which is the recommended. But if you are an advanced user and you want to tweak the way that TradeStation is using your processes or the processors, then you can use custom. And then it'll try to accommodate all the processes that TradeStation generates according to what you specify here. But performance is just a way of letting you control the way that TradeStation uses a multi-processor machine. Alexander, you make a good question about linking. Will Global Listener link to OptionStation Pro? Yes. With the new version of OptionStation Pro, you'll be able to create not only links to the underlying asset, but also to the option chains. And when we talk about OptionStation Pro, is one of the lessons in the series. I'll show you how to use the window linking in OptionStation Pro. Burton, your question about upgrading quotes to radar screen, I believe the fee is $59, $59.95 or something like that. But the fee gets waived if you are meeting the trading threshold. So if you are already getting TradeStation for free, radar screen is included in that promotion. You don't have to trade more to get it to get radar screen free as well. Okay. So take a look at all the tabs here when it comes to preferences, because you can change the way that TradeStation behaves in some of the windows and how it handles some of the data. Cesar, I see your question. How do you undo all the links at the same time? There's no turn off all links feature. So you do have to click on the buttons. So you click on the button, it turns it off. I go back to my workspace here. So I have to click on each one of these buttons to turn them off. So you can just click on the button and it turns it off. Okay. And Michael, yes, there is a standard watch list. It's called Quotes. So if you don't subscribe to Radar Screen, go to your Trading Apps launcher, and one of the buttons here, it should look very similar to this one. It should say Quotes here. Radar Screen is just an upgraded version of Quotes, and that's the way we get it. Page 17 talks about getting help. Help is very, very useful. If you go to the Help menu, you have access to the TradeStation platform Help. Let me show you how this works. I'll bring it over here so that everybody can see it, because a lot of the answers to questions that I've had in the past, I always find them in the Help. When you first launch it, it's categorized by TradeStation tool. But if you don't know exactly where to find it, search is great. If I go to search, and let's say that I'm interested in macros, I type in the word macros and I search, and this will search for everything that is macros related if you have a question on macros. Okay, let's say you have a question and you want to learn about window linking. I go window link and I search, and then it gives you help on setting up window links, types of window links. So this is very useful. If you forget about something in particular, come here to the help, do a search, because it's the best way to find additional information on all these topics. We talked about backup. So if you type in the word backup, search, here's the backup. And it explains what the backup is. Okay. Michael, I see your question about using Chrome as the embedded browser window in TradeStation. Unfortunately, TradeStation is tied in with Internet Explorer, and that's the one that it's going to use. Is hard-coded to use Internet Explorer. So if you're using a browser inside of TradeStation, unfortunately, we cannot change that. It's Internet Explorer. Neil, I see your question about, is there an indicator on the chart or a worksheet that shows if the stock is easy to borrow? You won't be able to see that on TradeStation per se. I mean, TradeStation doesn't provide you that information directly on the platform. You would have to go to the website and find out which stocks are easy to borrow. And I'm not sure if I have the website here. I do. But if you go to the Client Center, if you go to the Client Center and let me go to my customer profile. It's asking me to log in again. Well, if you go to the Client Center, I'm not sure if you've seen it there, but there's a link that shows you what stocks are easy to borrow. Let me see if I find it. Okay, this is my Client Center. I'm gonna have to look for it for you. So send me an email, and if you don't know where it is, I see your comment that you know where it is. But if anybody doesn't know where the easy to borrow list is, send me an email and I'll make sure to find the link for you so you can access it. No, there's no faster way. Sorry, Neil. Okay, so that ends this class. That was a lot of information we covered. Hopefully you're not overwhelmed. The class is being recorded, so you're always welcome to go back to the TradeStation archive. Let me just make sure that everybody gets that link and watch the presentation at your own pace and pause it and practice the functionality and so forth. So you'll get a chance to get the archive and review the information. But this is all the content or all the topics that I had prepared for this lesson number 1. Lesson number 2 is going to be tomorrow, September 4th at 1 p.m. and we're going to talk about the order bar and the order entry preferences. So we'll teach you all the different drop downs. We'll talk about order types. We'll talk about activation rules and how to create conditional orders. We'll touch a little bit on OCOs and OSOs, but it's going to be a very interesting class on how to place trades using the order bar. So hopefully everybody in this class has joined and registered for lesson number 2, but I hope to see everyone tomorrow. Thank you everyone for your time. Have a great night, and I'll see everyone tomorrow. Bye-bye.